energy when you're talking to people, which is really nice.
A lot of opportunity in both cities. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't lived in the West Coast enough to really tell.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Today we have another special guest with us. We have Milan Dileo joining us. And yeah, Milan, take it away. Can you kind of tell us your story?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. As Logan said, I'm Milan. I'm a director, photographer, and now digital tech in Los Angeles, California. I'm from Los Angeles, so I've been here for a little bit now. I started out in photo just with friends, goofing around. I took photo classes in high school. That's kind of where I found my first actual love for photo come in. And I initially started out going to school for photo a while back. And wow, that was interesting. I like all that. I don't need to redo it. I'm just going to keep going with it. It hit a wall real quick. I was a photo major in school, and kind of everything really started for me, I feel like, professionally over COVID. I took a gap year from school, and I really feel like I wanted to take that time to really understand what the photo industry was like in LA. So I moved back to LA. I was going to school in Philly at the time. And I basically just started finding a lot of photographers through Instagram that I really admired their work of and wanted to maybe model my own work after, or really just saw something that I think that I could really embody with. So I reached out to them, just wanting to assist with them and seeing if I could learn anything from them, ask them questions, really starting from base one, really. And that kind of got me in with some photographers that I really learned a lot from. I credit Maya Fier as one of like my really early internship / like mentorship type of things. I worked with Maya for about a year and a half over COVID, and she really was, impartial. Very, very formative for my experiences in working in the photo industry in LA. And she taught me a lot about navigating the industry and just being a good business person and a photographer, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand what kind of business side it takes to be a photographer as well. Fast forward a little bit, I kind of found directing through doing BTS video on set. I was working on a lot of editorials, so things that were a lot lower stakes and kind of allowed me to experiment a little bit with assisting. I don't even know if you could call it experimenting, but I bought a little VHS camera that I saw someone else using on a set, and I was like, it'd be fun to have a VHS camera. And that was my first time really experimenting with video, and that made me kind of think about wanting to get into directing in the future. And luckily I had some friends here in LA that make music and kind of allowed me to direct some of their stuff and kind of get my feet wet with that. And then one thing just kind of led to another, and started shooting events and reaching out to more people, just kind of introduced me to a wider net. And I really found the love for photography and directing that I've tried to carry with myself now.
Right.
It's a very long-winded and not very specific answer, but
no, that'll make a really good short. That'll
it's
make
a good warm up.
Most definitely.
No, that all sounds good. And it sounds very relatable to what me and Caleb are trying to do with this project too.
Great.
You know, working videography, photography at concerts, events, everything we've been doing.
Yeah.
Working with everybody. So that was really cool.
Thanks, man.
So outside of everything you're doing for work, what other hobbies do you have? What else do you usually do?
I think it's in my Instagram bio that I'm a failed athlete, but still trying. I think outside of work, which I get a lot of my meaning from, even though that sounds shitty to say that I get meaning from work, I do. And I think being active and just moving my body gives me so much purpose and enjoyment. I cycle and I play tennis. Those are my two go-to sports. Talked about a little bit earlier, but golf has been a new addition to that. I've been playing tennis for a while now, and I think there's nothing more fun than just getting out onto a sweaty, hot court in the middle of summer and just running around and hitting some balls. I played tennis a little bit in college, not on the varsity team. I was on the club team, but it was a lot of fun to play competitive tennis. And then there's a cycling YouTuber that I watch who his whole thing is like, he doesn't want to be great. He doesn't want to be average. He wants to be just above average, where you can still have fun and not put in too much effort where it consumes everything you do. Just enough where you can have fun with it, make it social with other people, and be good at it. So with tennis, I feel like I'm there. Cycling, I'm getting there. In golf, I've got a way to go. But yeah, I think for me, being active in any type of way is a lot of fun. I love to cook too. I can't really turn around my computer, but I'm looking at my kitchen right now with my windows here and the rest of it there, and I'm very inspired by it to cook. So I get lazy a lot. I make a fuck ton of mac and cheese, but every now and then I can whip up a good pasta with some real tomatoes. So cooking is really fun for me. I wouldn't say getting into it. That would be giving myself too much credit, but I've made bread a couple times, and that's been a lot of fun. So I enjoy making a good loaf every now and then. What else? I like reading a little bit too. I'll show you guys a book I'm reading. This is what I currently have going on right now. I'm not that deep into it, so I'm a little bit of a fraud, and I've had it for like a month and a half. This book is really cool. It's the little blurb right here. The inquiry into the origins and true meaning of traditional crafts, I feel, sums it up really good. It's Alexander Langland's, and he is an archaeologist, I believe, from Britain. And he wrote this book on kind of a delve into craft specifically relating to farm work. And I got it before I was going to work on the farm in Italy, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. And I think it's a great thing to read when I'm a digital tech on set, staring at a screen for 12 hours a day and being very disconnected from the physical things around me. And reading that book brings me back to, even if I'm not doing something with my hands that day, it still gives me the feeling in my brain of building something or getting my hands dirty in dirt. It fulfills that kind of need for me in living in such a digital world.
Right. Absolutely. I've been cheating too. I've been trying to read books too, but I don't have the patience. So I've been listening to them instead. Good old ebook.
Yeah, when I get really sucked in, it's hard to get sucked out of it. This is my first book that I've read in a while that's not like a story. It's not very like educational, but it's not like a novel. So it's not easy to get sucked into it. I kind of have to force myself to a little bit, but yeah, it's a lot of fun.
There you go. And it sounds like you're really busy. So that's a good thing for sure.
I try to be. I don't know if I really am.
Right. So tell us about living in LA and being from LA. What are your some kind of favorites, least favorite things about it?
Yeah, I feel living in LA, I've had almost two different experiences with it, growing up and then going away for college and then coming back and living here as an adult now. I'm living in Santa Monica, so it's about half an hour to an hour depending on when you would leave from where I grew up. But it feels very different. Like that's one thing I love about LA is you can drive half an hour and be in a geographically like kind of close area, but still feel very different. Like where I'm at in Santa Monica feels completely different from where I grew up. It's nice that you can kind of have the mountains and the city and something else in between to kind of give yourself a total breadth of these different environments that are really cool. I really love how diverse all the different areas in LA are. I think one thing that I crave when I go to another city, like I was just in San Francisco last week, is a community feeling. I feel like LA is a little bit detached from a really feeling of a community. I think you get it in certain neighborhoods, ones that are more walkable. Like when I was in San Francisco, it's just, we went down to this one street where there were a lot of bars, and my friend who I was with who lives there, like saw 5 people he knew out at the bars. And I think it's much harder to have those interactions here in LA like that, unless you're, Jared Leto or Leonardo DiCaprio or something, and everybody knows you. Yeah, it feels disconnected, and I spend a lot of time in my car, which I don't love. I love it at times. I really savor my personal space, but feeling like I'm living in my own bubble can get a little bit boring sometimes. But when I travel, to have that feeling refreshed for me is necessary to have that. I always see like best neighborhoods in LA or whatever, and I'm like, what are my favorite restaurants? And I always feel like people never give good answers on that. Should I do a couple?
Right. Yeah. Let's just hear about your favorite places around Santa Monica.
Yeah, okay. What's my favorite place? So my favorite bike ride in Santa Monica goes up Mandeville Canyon. Technically not Santa Monica, but it's like 15 minutes from here. Gorgeous ride up into the hills. Insane houses. Like you got modern houses, old American style, Spanish style, anything you want. It's up there. So that's really good for a pretty ride. I lied. There is one little walkable spot near me. It's called Santa Monica Brewworks. A little outdoor bar, beer garden, patio type of thing that I love going to. Playing cards out there is always fun. Taking it out of Santa Monica, there's a restaurant called Kismet in Los Feliz for my Angelinos that know it. It's delicious Middle Eastern Mediterranean food. I actually sat next to Nathan Fielder there one time, just totally randomly, which was pretty funny, eating next to Nathan Fielder. But yeah, Kismet's one of my favorites in LA for sure.
When I went out to visit Caleb, we actually went to Santa Monica the one day. That's awesome. That was probably my favorite part of the city, to be honest.
Where'd you guys go to?
I don't know where we parked, but we just parked a couple blocks down from the pier. And then hung out on the pier and the beach all day. Yeah, Santa
Monica's great. It's gotten very clean, I feel like, over the last few years too. I feel like one of the things that people were criticizing about Santa Monica was just like the dirtiness and the homelessness, which all of LA has right now. But I feel like Santa Monica's gotten pretty good over the last couple of years. So I guess that's cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. I got that impression too. I thought it was very clean.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of, like I said, I'm in Pittsburgh. It reminded me of Pittsburgh a lot.
Yeah.
A lot cleaner than Philly.
I went to Pittsburgh. My dad was working on a job out there like 7 or 8 years ago, and he was living maybe near like the Google offices. I don't even know if Google still has offices there. It was a really cool city.
So I'm not familiar with them, but yeah.
I really like Pittsburgh. It was cool.
Yeah, no, I like it a lot. Yeah. Very cool city. It's very different, but I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Now kind of diving back in, moving away from LA, Can you kind of tell us your experiences with moving away to college and kind of like the East Coast versus West Coast
Hmm.
differences? What are some of the positive negatives of each
Hmm.
that you've
Yeah,
noticed?
I started out going to school at the Rochester Institute of Technology for all of my Rochester people out there. I had a honestly difficult time transitioning to living in Rochester. I think coming straight from California, moving there was just such a stark difference from what I was used to. And being in a place that's more rural, not like incredibly rural, but still needed a car, not having a car and kind of feeling like I couldn't really get off campus that much was a little bit tough for me. And having the sun set at 3 p.m. wasn't that great either. And I think also not having many people from California, I just felt like a little bit of a culture shock at the moment being out there. It was different, and I don't think that was bad at all. It just wasn't maybe what I was wanting or creatively felt inspired by at the moment. I think that I wasn't really sure of the type of photography or really type of any work that I wanted to make at that time. I've kind of had the feeling that I wanted to be in a city, like a proper city for that. So I think being there, I just felt a little stifled. After RIT, I transferred to Drexel in Philly, and that's where I met Caleb, working on a job out there. So Philly was cool. I moved there at a weird time right before COVID, so I was there for about 3 months before I got sent home. So I didn't feel like I really got to experience it a whole lot of it. When I came back to Drexel after, I felt like it was exactly the right decision. For all the reasons that I did not like RIT, I felt like those had been turned upside down being in Philly. I felt like the city there is amazing. And what I was kind of talking about before with the community that I feel like I miss here in LA, like everybody I've met from Philly is so proud to be from Philly. And even people that aren't from there, if they live there, they are so proud to be from Philly. And someone who loves sports, being in a town that like is a sports town was the coolest thing ever, because LA just really isn't like that. Like any Sunday you go out and people are just in green head to toe.
Right.
Yeah, it was a really cool experience, and the music scene in Philly was cool. I wish I went to more house shows. I definitely didn't go to enough, but yeah, I mean, Philly now is a place for me that I would love to even live in the future or go back as much as I can. I went back for my birthday this past year, so it holds a really special place in my heart. I really, really love that city a lot.
Philly is my favorite for sure too. Hard to find a place that rallies around their sports and just everything in general that happens in Philly like they do. So
Yeah, it's an intense city in like the best way. And especially working in the photo industry, you get people that are real and are truthful and are honest.
before we jump into kind of the next section of questions, what have you noticed are like the big differences between East and West Coast people? It sounds
Different.
like you've experienced it all. So
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, East Coast is tough. I think it would be, I guess, Philly people. It's interesting because like being in college in Philly, you get people from all over. So I feel like it would be different than if I had lived there just like working and met more people that were from Philly, because I met a lot or like from that area. I've worked a couple jobs in New York and a few jobs in Philly, and I would say that I don't know. I want to think of like a good analogy. I don't know. I mean, I could say that it's the stereotypical like LA is more laid back. It totally is, and New York is more high strung. But like I've never really spent that much time in New York, so I don't think I could criticize it like that. I would say the people that I met in Philly though, and it sounds kind of contradictory for like being from California, that there was a lot more people that I met at least that are more outdoors, like nature oriented people, which I really like. I think being from LA, even though we have a lot of outdoors and a lot of nature, it's still a city and like a concrete jungle. So I just don't know that many people that like backpack or really love to take like a road trip without like a destination or anything, or that sounds like a very specific thing, but it's not really. Yeah, I don't know. I think in Northern California you get a lot more of a granola type of person, and I felt that a lot with the people that I met on the East Coast. I don't know, not a great answer, but that's kind of what I got for that.
I got you. So, like I said, you experienced it all, so you would know. So we'll have
I
to.
guess so. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Right.
Being on the East Coast, that's definitely true with New York City and Philly. With the more like high strung people, or like the
Yeah.
work ethics are definitely the small time that I did mention or stayed in LA, like the laid back versus high chaotic work life balance between New York City and LA is crazy the difference.
That's why I like Philly so much, because New York, I feel like the city's trying to kill me. Philly, I don't feel like the city's trying to kill me.
Hmm.
So it felt more of a mix between like I could see the sky, but I still had buildings. Like in New York, I get so claustrophobic walking around and like bumping shoulders with people all day long. I don't have that feeling when I'm in Philly. So I think that's why I liked it, because it had the city, but it also just felt like I could breathe a little bit more. What do you guys feel like, since you both have a little bit of East Coast, West Coast time?
Yeah, the personality within Philly, it's like very, I don't know, I just love how like collective Philly is, with just like how what you were saying with the sports, and like how collective is a community aspect. It's just us. It's us versus everyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of like very personalities here that are my way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Philly, I will say, all bad drivers, and then New York City is more chaotic. It feels like New York City drivers are bad, but it's like they're all know how to like chaotically drive, and it's like one more congruent, or Philly's like not. And I feel like LA too is just like more like laid back. It's a driving city, I feel, and it's just like more like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the one thing that I kind of
Yeah,
noticed as well.
totally. When you're saying that, I don't know why my mind went to it. Not so much about driving, but I feel like a lot of people that I meet are not from here. And I do actually meet a lot of people that are from here working in the photo industry. So I think it's a good mix of a lot of different type of people, which is maybe why I'm having trouble placing like an identity on it, just because it feels like such a mix of people. I'm trying to think even of like people that I know growing up with, like a lot of them moved out of LA. So, I think it's an interesting mix of Angelinos and people that move here. But it feels like a very hopeful city. I will say that, because most people move to LA with a goal in mind. Like if you're moving here, it's probably for some type of reason. Like I know that sounds Hollywood as shit and cliche as shit, but it's true to an extent. Like I feel like people that move here with some kind of goal, in the same way that people do when they move to New York. So it feels hopeful and energetic in ways that kind of helps drive energy when you're talking to people, which is really nice.
A lot of opportunity in both cities. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't lived in the West Coast enough to really tell.
Yeah. And it's like anything. The West Coast is, you're gonna get all different types of shit, is the same you are in the East Coast. So
Right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a tough one to generalize, I guess, but that's the best we got.
Yes. Now transitioning to kind of more photography based, you kind of mentioned at the beginning of this interview about balancing like the business and photography. Can you give do you have like any advice upcoming photographers, or just like advice in general about kind of just balancing the business aspect of photography and the creative aspect of it, and not having the business aspect take away from the photography, or kind of just how to build your brand?
Yeah, I mean, I feel as someone who is very much still soaking in information and learning on the business side of things, the best thing that I always, not the best thing, whenever I feel good about myself in thinking about like how I'm handling myself as a business person, is whenever I'm respecting myself and respecting my boundaries. Because I feel like when we're starting out, it's easy to just say yes right away and to do things blindly. And I think that's good. I think we need like a certain amount of that so you can get experience and to take opportunities and jump in the deep end. But I think as we do that, we also realize, looking back at the situation, when the right time to maybe pull on the brakes a little bit, or negotiate isn't the right word, but like maybe suss out the situation, or respect yourself a little bit more. So I think with time, we understand where those boundaries are set when we're dealing with things in a business sense, and how to communicate is a big one. I don't even know how to do it properly. I'm still figuring it out. Respecting myself and respecting others. Also realizing that like we all are doing this together collectively in a way. And like, it sounds kind of stupid and lame, but it's easy to look at a producer as just someone doing a producer's role. But no, I don't know where I'm going with that, honestly. I'm gonna scrap that whole tangent. But yeah, I agree. I agree with what I said still about respecting myself and respecting the people that we're dealing with. So yeah, I think that kind of goes across anything too, but especially in like a business side of things, I guess.
I love that. Jumping around kind of around the questions a little bit, go in depth how much you want, or like scrap this question if you want to as well. But how do you like gain and maintain your clients that you have, stemming from like the business aspect of it? How do you like form relationships with clients, maintain it? What are some like resources that you use to gain clients and everything?
I think it really takes time. I still feel this a lot with myself, as I expect a lot out of the things. So I think that's something I'm working on personally, is like to manage expectations and to manage promises, because there's a lot of promises from people that will then fall empty in the future. I've experienced that a lot. So managing expectations, I feel for myself, is a good way to start. My best relationships that I've had have been ones that have really developed over a period of time. And I think that's true in friendships that I look at, or with anybody really. I think things don't really happen overnight a lot of times. And I think it's discouraging in maybe the first year or first 2 years that you're freelancing. You're trying to put yourself out there and you're trying to make connections, and maybe not everything's sticking to the wall. Some things are. I think that there's a lot of things in swirling motion. That's how I kind of see it in my head. And there's a lot of different arms and things that you can reach out to people and make these connections. But because I feel like personally, I don't have a formula of maintaining clients, I guess, because a lot of my work is with new people. Just this month, actually, I did a shoot, I think it was 2 weeks ago, with a photographer, and he reached out for a shoot that's coming up this week and then another one later this month. And I think this is the first time ever that I've worked with a photographer like 3 times as a digital tech. So I feel like I'm just starting out with maintaining clients. So I don't know if I have the perfect answer for maintaining, but I do still agree with what I said earlier of that it takes time to find people. I think it might be kind of lame, but maintaining like an online presence is good, because if you can stay at the top of mind with other people, I think that's really important to not fall down like the mental Rolodex of people. So I guess whatever form that would take for you in doing that and feels natural is good. I think taking time is still big. is a big one.
I love that answer.
You're taking time and staying consistent with everything you're doing. Yeah.
Most definitely.
My question was, out of everything that you've been working on recently, do you have a favorite piece that you've done where you like look back and you're like, wow, that was really cool?
I had a very wonderful opportunity that I'm super grateful for to photograph the new Charlie Bliss album cover, which comes out, I think, in like 3 days, which is insane. So they've been rolling out the singles for it. I shot it like back in December. It's been really cool to see that roll out. It's also being printed on vinyl, and it's like in a gatefold. My photo is like in the gatefold, super big. I just purchased the vinyl yesterday, so hopefully I can get that soon and see it big in person. But yeah, I'm super stoked about that. Charlie Bliss was like amazing to work with. Everybody in that band was the kindest, the most wonderful people that I've really had the chance to photograph. But yeah, that Charlie Bliss album cover was a lot of fun to do. And I think just seeing my work in print makes it all that much more real. So it's really cool when I get the opportunity to work on something that is in print, because it doesn't happen that often these days.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds like an awesome opportunity. Like, and relating to work that you've done, is there a piece that you believe is like, you were like, wow, that was really difficult, or something you look back on as being really hard?
Let's see. I don't know. I think like for me, maybe this is just my like cognitive dissonance, but like I don't always internalize the difficulty of things. I just kind of do something, not that I even try to, but like the difficulties for me, I enjoy the challenge of it, I guess. So I wouldn't say that something I've done has been difficult, but maybe like just more challenging than other stuff. I did earlier a few months ago, I made a spec commercial for Calvin Klein, not for Calvin Klein. I did a spec commercial with Calvin Klein products that I bought for the video. So yeah, that one was a lot of logistical stuff. I think when I do put together my own shoots, I try to do everything myself, and that's something that I'm trying to work on, to delegate better and bring more people on to do roles that they're really good at, that me trying to do 5 roles, spreading myself thin, is not beneficial to the greater good of the project. But that one was difficult just because challenging just because I wore a lot of different hats doing it. You know, I also had a great little support crew that were also very good at doing their specialized jobs. That one in particular, I guess, would be one that was a little bit more challenging because of that.
And then is there a favorite environment or location that you've worked in that you can highlight?
Like physical location?
Yeah, whether it's a city or just you're in a really cool city.
Oh, okay. I'll do a 2-part answer. One that's more real, and then one that I guess is kind of a flex. I don't know. I worked in Jamaica last year, which was sick. Anytime I get paid to travel for work is like I'm pinching myself. How is this happening? I was teching on that one, not shooting, but still incredible experience with a really awesome crew and team. I was taking a taxi back from a beach that I walked to. We had a down day where we weren't doing anything, and the taxi driver pulled down his like the sunshade thing, and he had a bag of weed up there, and he tried to offer me weed, and I was like, I appreciate your hospitality, but I'm okay. And then he gave me a mango, so that was sick. Yeah, anytime I get to go somewhere, even if it's a road trip for a drive like 2 hours outside of LA, I'm always grateful for those experiences. But that's one thing that I love about LA is we have a lot of on-location outdoor shoots out here, just because the weather is great and brands pay for the sun out here, which is amazing. So anytime I'm in the mountains, I'm always enjoying the shoot out there. It's not even work at that point. Then we're just hanging out, having fun. I had a shoot on a tennis court like a couple weeks ago where we were playing tennis on our lunch break, and I was like, am I working? I don't think I am. Yeah. So if I can combine sports and work, then I'm in bliss. That's perfect for me.
Being in this industry, I'm still not getting a good grasp on like traveling and getting paid for it too. Cause like
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years ago, like I got paid to like go down to Miami and everything and film. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like work. It's just like
Yeah.
I'm like filming, I'm doing like BTS shoot and stuff, but then it's an hour later, I'm relaxing on Miami Beach. It's crazy the
Yeah.
dynamic of being in the film world and an entertainment industry.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, it's amazing. When I got to Jamaica, I think we landed at like 11 at night or something there. And I don't know why we were in a rush to get to the other side of the island where the hotel was. It was like a 2 hour drive from the airport because our next day we had a down day, so we weren't doing anything. The production had a driver set up for us to take us through the island in the middle of the night. And I'm carrying probably like $30,000 of photo equipment with me. Prior to that, when we were still in the airport in customs, I had to like take out everything because when you're traveling, I didn't even know this on this job. My boss, George Brooks, legend, helped me out with this. He put together the carnet, which is like a list of every item of equipment that I'm bringing, even down to like a USB C-to-C cable and the serial numbers for everything. So when I show up at the customs in Jamaica, I present them with this document, and then they go through and like check the serial numbers of everything. Not everything, like the big ticket items, like the computers, the cameras. So it's stressful as fuck because I'm like, if there's a mistake in one number on the serial number of the computer, they're going to be suspect. I didn't even want to go down what would happen if anything got fucked up. I have all this gear laid out in the middle of the airport in Jamaica, and then people know what I have, and then we have to go walk out to the car, and then we get in this random dude's car and drive through the pitch black Jamaican night on these tiny windy roads. There's a cliff on one side and a hill on the other, and I was like, this is probably where I'm gonna die, but it didn't happen. So
We're happy that you're still here. That sounds so stressful.
I was actually legitimately stressed because like also in Jamaica, the way they drive there is just insane. This dude, he's professional. He lives there. He grew up there. I guess I can trust him, but speeding on these tight, windy turns going like 30 miles an hour in the middle of the night is a little bit jarring.
How do you set up for a shoot? Like what's kind of your process? What's your go-to and your camera bag, like equipment that you use?
Why don't I bring out, I'm going to grab my Pelican because it's just in my room, because then I can give like a list of stuff.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I'll do one for my photo kit, and then I'll do a brief one for my digital tech kit.
Ooh, okay.
I try to keep my photo kit pretty versatile. I mean, a lot of the stuff I shoot is events or concerts or things, so a lot of that is on-camera flash, so it can pack up pretty light. I carry a DSLR 5D Mark IV for those who are keeping score. I got this. I love like cases and bags for things are like my favorite thing ever. So I got this little mini Pelican case with my name and number on it to keep my ProPhoto transmitter in, because that is super helpful when I have my ProPhoto flash to go handheld. I like to hold the flash and then have the camera in another hand to kind of put the flash where I want it. And then the accessories, memory cards, batteries, lens. I really like a 24-70. That's kind of my, nothing crazy. It's a pretty standard lens. And I also keep a Contax G1 in there that I don't usually shoot with. That's kind of my personal camera, but I don't have anywhere else to keep it, so it ends up staying in there. I guess to prepare emotionally for a shoot, I'm a freak about getting to shoots early, so I like to get there like 20 to 30 minutes early, maybe even if the parking's crazy. So just to know that I have everything, even if I know that my bag is packed, I will always, as I'm driving, stop at a red light, reach over into my back seat, open up the Pelican case and check everything's there. I do that probably every time that I go to a shoot. I don't know when I'm ever going to get over that. I don't think I will, but I have this constant fear in the back of my head that I'm forgetting something very critical to my kit. So that's a must. Making sure you stop traffic and check in your Pelican case what's going on. Yeah, get there early, do your homework, be prepared. Research on whatever your subject is always critical. Like if I'm shooting with an artist that I don't really know, or shooting a concert of a band that I don't really know, I like to listen to their music in the car on the way to the shoot, just get myself familiar with what their vibe. I mean, ideally I've done this before, but just to get myself amped up a little bit, to get myself more stoked, I'll listen to their music or things like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm a preparation freak. So anything I can do to make sure that I have the least amount of anxiety as possible is good. And I guess for digital tech kit, I won't go too specifically into the minutia of the stuff that I have in it, but honestly, I'd say it's the same preparation, like emotional preparation, same stuff. I could go super deep into the kit, but I don't want to get flamed by any other digital techs watching because I'm still learning.
100%, 100%. Because yeah, literally, I'm the same way too with my bag. Because I'm kind of messy with my room and everything. I have clothes all over the place. But the only thing that I keep organized, like make sure that it's perfectly in place. That if I have an emergency shoot, I can just grab my camera bag and run out the door. But my camera bag is the only thing that's organized 24/7 because I'm like, I need to know where everything is all the time. And when I'm going to the shoot, I always do the same thing like you do. I'm like mid walk, I'm just
Yeah.
like unzipping my backpack, checking to see if I have everything, checking to see if I have chargers, SD cards, backup batteries, and everything.
Yeah.
And it's so stressful going to shoots.
I usually I'll leave my Pelican open, like with the lid open overnight because no, I don't do that. What was I gonna say? I'm nervous that if I pack my kit the night before that magically something will escape during the night and then it's gone. So that's why I need to have it in an area where I can see it, and then the next morning I'll check it and make sure everything's in there again, even though it never left.
When you're on shoot, how oh, perfect, perfect. I love it. I love it.
You like the little side light right there?
Yes, little side light. When you're on set, how do you go about directing people, both within like the film world, but especially when you're photographing, when it's kind of a setup stage for like clothing, you're like in a studio and everything, you control the lights, the atmosphere, and everything. How do you direct people and like go about that?
Yeah.
Telling people different motions and everything.
Right. I think it totally depends what type of work I'm doing. If it's a music video, it'll be different from a commercial. I think one thing that I really like to do when I'm shooting, I always like to introduce myself to everybody when I get to set. I think that's key and it makes everybody feel heard. If I'm directing or I'm shooting, I want to be the point of contact for people that they feel like they know that things are going well and under control. Not even under control, just like that we're on pace, basically. So I really like to introduce myself to everybody, make sure everybody knows my name, make sure I know their name, so that we can be friends. No, for a commercial, I think again, like preparation is everything for me. I don't want to feel like I'm making stuff up on the day of directing. I feel like for me, everything is in sports analogies. So I want to do my practice before I want to get to the game. So when I'm directing, I feel like it's more of me executing what I've already planned in previous rehearsals, in previous sessions of me sitting in my room thinking about what I want to do. And notes are big for me too, because things would just get lost in my head and the anxiety would crawl over me and they would escape. If I have to write things down or if I have to have visual references, I like to be in communication with like whoever the talent, whether that's like a musician or a model or a dancer or something, to be talking about what we want to accomplish going into it, whether that's like a lighting reference or a movement reference or anything. I think preparation is everything. And then if we're showing up the day of and whoever I'm photographing or directing, they know what to expect. I know what to expect, and it can be a lot smoother.
I love that so much because it's like such a personal and like intimate environment and everything, and there's so much preparation that goes beforehand, and that's why I kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit on it, and kind of transitioning to more outdoor events like concerts. I guess that's kind of indoor, but it's a environment that's changing a lot, and outdoor photo shoots where the sun is going down or going up, always like changing light. What's your best advice to quickly change settings with the changing light and atmosphere and like a concert or a day shoot where you can't really control the light as much as possible?
Yeah, I think I try to use it to the best of my ability. I feel like I would rather use that as a pro, or not as a pro, use it as something that is helping me rather than something that I'm trying to fight. I mean, I think it would depend if I'm shooting a concert, or I guess, I don't know, when I'm thinking about where I'm shooting, if it's on location, if it's something like a spec commercial that I'm directing, the light would be playing a huge role in what kind of vibe it's creating and what it's doing for the story or whatever we're shooting. So if I'm shooting in the early afternoon into like a dusk, that would be an intentional decision to do that for whatever like story we're shooting. If it's for a concert, I think I would probably be fighting it a little bit more, but I think that I would still be trying to execute whatever would make the client happy in a way too. I don't know. I'd feel the moment. If whatever band is playing at dusk, if you've been shooting flash the whole day, maybe you're tired of shooting flash and maybe it'd be fun to go off flash for a minute and switch it up to give it a little bit more of an intimate vibe and not so in your face. I think being able to feel the energy of whatever subject you're shooting is important. God, I don't like energy either, but I don't know how else to say it. It's good to understand that, to know what you can control with your camera, with your light, to best represent that, if that's what you're trying to do, if your goal is to try and represent what the vibe or the energy of the room or whatever you're shooting it is. So yeah, I would say that would influence most. If it's a concert that is beach sunset vibe acoustic, then I would let that dictate what I do. I would probably go for a softer look or something, versus like if it's a cave rave and the sun happens to be coming in the cave, maybe we want some more flash. I'd say the subject determines a lot of that.
Perfectly said. Perfectly said. How have you developed your style over your time for doing photography? Kind of just like that golden glow effect that when I was on a shoot with you and everything, and just like
Yeah.
that kind of style and just like your style in general. How did you kind of develop that?
Yeah, I went through a crisis recently of my style because I was looking at my website and I try to look at, I'm not good at it, but I try to look at it like objectively as I can. And I realized that every single photo shoot I do, I feel like has a totally different vibe. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going for. I don't know what kind of vibe I'm curating. And then I look at other photographers and they have like such a curated vibe. And I'm like, damn, like, how do I do that? It's hard to commit. It's really hard to, and I don't even know how to do it. I don't know if a photographer that, one of my friends, Hannah DeVries, like when I look at some photographers of work like Hannah, I should just ask her. Like, I want to know if she just woke up one day and was like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I don't know if you guys know, another one is Jack Bridgeland. Like, do they just wake up and are like, this is the color palette that I'm using for the rest of my photography career? Like, I don't know. And I don't know how people develop that. I don't know how you make a decision on that and like just go with that and have the confidence to trust that. So I think that's why I felt like I've ended up in this space where like everything I do is different, but also maybe that's a vibe. I don't know. So I feel like it's something that I'm working on. I think since the gear I use hasn't changed in 3 years, I think if there's anything unifying on some level that I'm not seeing, my flash use is really consistent. The way I shoot hasn't changed. I think like I don't even know how to do this. Just the way that my eye, I think, hasn't changed. I think that has stayed pretty consistently. So even if my lighting may differ in photographs, I think the way I choose to frame something is probably stayed consistent. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to like color and just lighting, I think it will forever be a work in progress of like what my vibe is. Did you guys take a peek at those Instagrams?
Yeah. I opened them and I'm like, yeah, I love their style so much because Hannah reminds me kind of a little bit of that like grungy look of Jack Nelson and everything that I like worked for over like LA last summer and everything. I just love that like grungy look. I'm so jealous of people who have like a style like Hannah and like Jack Bridgeland. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like so cool to dissect other artists' style and how they kind of like form their own specific style and everything.
Yeah, I would love to know if it's a conscious decision. I mean, at some point it has to be, because you would look at your website and be like, oh, everything looks the same. So you'd accept it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm figuring that out myself. I think it just comes through shooting a lot and testing and trying different things and maybe having work in mind that you want to take bits and pieces from, not plagiarize. That's important. But take bits and pieces of to add to your own flavor and keeping those consistent maybe. But yeah, I think also once a photographer has started to define their style, they book work around that. Like if you, like with Hannah, she shoots a lot of the same vibe of person, like this alty emo person. So that type of person calls for a certain setting. And if that setting and those people, you shoot them a lot, you kind of start to fall into a niche. With anything, like if you shoot events, you fall into that niche. So at some point, I think the niche defines, like going back to like if you're shooting an outdoor concert in the light, letting the subject determine it. Again, what the subject calls for determines maybe what your actions are. So if you do a lot of that same subject, it maybe creates your style for you in a way. I think it's a push and pull of those two, of making those decisions yourself and representing your subject in a way that feels good. Feels right.
Right.
Beautifully said. And I think that's so true when filming and photographing events like that.
There's definitely something to be said about, not having a particular style, being able to do a little bit of everything. I feel like that'd almost be better in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it's great for doing what I want to do. Then I look at it in the case of like, if I'm being considered to be hired for a job, what are they going to get from me? If it's too sporadic, you don't fucking know. So... And I don't know, something about going to a photographer's page and it's just like one vibe feels so nice. And it just feels comfortable in a way of like, you know what to expect. And I think when brands are putting money and resources into someone, they want to expect something and they want to know that they're going to get something. It's a tough battle to fight.
Most definitely. Jumping more into the film side with your directing and everything, this question is kind of similar to of like how you prepare for like a photo shoot. So I'm going to add a little bit of a different vibe because you did articulate kind of how you prepare for a shoot, and it's kind of similar for directing. But how do you mentally, if you can like pinpoint like the differences between like preparing for a directing role and everything, and kind of just get into more of the pressure of like getting so many people at once and then like staying on time and keeping on schedule and everything. How do you mentally prepare for a shoot like that?
For the biggest difference for directing and when I'm photographing, I'm thinking in a lot less of technical terms because I do all my own lighting when I'm shooting. So I think a lot of my time goes to that. And then if I'm directing, it's more of like curating a vibe for the lighting that my DP and a gaffer, if I'm working with one, will work on. So I don't have to make those decisions. I think when we're talking about like staying on pace and staying on schedule, again, like just delegating and trusting in other people that they're going to do the job because they're fucking rock stars. That's what they do. It is important, like in the way that I'm there for a specific job. I think other people are. I haven't really directed on too many big sets. You know, I'd say on average, directing shoot for me might have like 8 or 9 people, so it feels very manageable for me, and it's usually people that I know already or at least have talked with a little bit before. So I think it takes a lot of the fear of having a new experience out of it for me if I know the people that I'm doing it with. So it feels a little bit more like I've done it before a little bit, even though I haven't. Like if the people that are there, if I know them, it feels more familiar. Like for the Calvin Klein job, it was a lot of that. One was fun because I worked with the choreographer and I've never worked with the choreographer before. So it was interesting to kind of do the rehearsals for that and really realize that I don't know shit about dance and kind of more talk about the timing of the dance and the flow of the movement and the pacing and kind of how the dance would flow from like a room to another room rather than talking about the specifics of what the actual dance looks like and finding references. So that was a fun one, just to try something new and get my feet wet with that. But yeah, I think again, it comes back to the preparation of all that. So I don't know, I'm trying to think if I had anything else that I wanted to throw in there. Preparation.
Okay, a little question that came to my mind too, because I feel like I'm always like learning new things about like new, whether it's like dance, whether it's like photographing like people doing horse racing and everything. I feel like I just have a collection of so much knowledge on random like certain aspects that I never thought I would have knowledge on. You said that like you learn so much more about choreography and everything. What's like kind of a little like bit of like unexpected thing that you grew knowledgeable about doing the research beforehand for photographing and everything? What's something else that kind of like stands out to you?
I don't know if I have a specific moment, but I really like learning about people. I enjoy learning about what people are about, what they do, because I think also that gives me a better sense of feeling the vibe and energy when I'm talking to someone. Is learning about them, I can get a feel for what they might be like on screen or on camera or something. I don't know. I don't like that was horseshit. That was bad. I don't know what I was going on about. Yeah, but no, I do still agree that I like talking with people and learning about them and being interested in people. I think helps too. Being interested in like showing genuine interest in whether it's a person or something you're learning about or anything goes a long way, really. So I think that's important.
Love to hear it. And last question to kind of wrap up the photography and directing in film realm of questions before we kind of hop into the last few questions. How do you overcome like the long hours in film when you're on shoot?
I like rarely work on film actually. So working in photo, the lifestyle is just so much more chill to film. Because whenever I'm working with people on film, they're like, I worked like 15-hour days back to back, and like I might work like 15-hour days like once every 3 months. So I feel super grateful that photo just doesn't have that same time commitment and lifestyle commitment. And like growing up with my parents working in film, they would travel for 6 months at a time to go work on a project. And, you know, my dad would leave the house at like 6 in the morning and not come back till 8 at night. So working in photo is, you know, 10-hour days, 12-hour days if it's long. I feel very grateful to be working in film or in photo for that specific reason. So yeah.
Right. Awesome. Love to hear it. That's the first time I'm like slowly starting to learn that photo is a lot more like healthier lifestyle because
Yeah.
than like
Yeah.
because it's crazy. People are cracked them.
The trade-off though is like we just don't work as consistently. Like we're never gonna get a job longer than like 5 days. Anything longer than that is crazy. Like you're never gonna book like a month-long feature or something or anything like that. There's something about having like the consistency in film of that you're employed for the next month or more if you're working on a longer project. That's the one trade-off. But the lifestyle is just is way better.
Caleb's like, crap, I picked the wrong profession. So like Caleb said, that kind of wrapped up the photography and directing questions. Now jumping into a trip that you alluded to earlier, a trip you took to Sicily. I mean, you mentioned about your book and farming and everything, so we were just kind of hoping to hear the story of that and working on the farm and how all that went.
Yeah, it was a blast. So I've always been Italian, but I've always been Italian American, but I've recently become Italian. Because the first time I went to Italy, I realized how different Italians are versus Italian Americans. Completely different culture, not at all similar. It was really eye-opening for that. And I have family in Sicily. They live in a very small little mountaintop town south of Palermo. Visiting them was like a very full circle moment for me, seeing like the same streets that my great grandpa like walked his little donkey cart up, and realizing how much my dad looks like every other Sicilian man there, and realizing that I'm gonna look like that one day. So Sicily is amazing. I was spending on the farm. I was working on this farm outside of Bologna in a town called Castelvetro di Modena. I'll send the link actually in case you guys are interested. And I found this farm. Let's see. I found this farm. I'll wait to talk about it so I can actually like say it to the camera and not like I'm actively scrolling through a web page.
That I'm so excited to learn because I'm like I want to take a trip to Sicily so badly.
Yeah.
So I'm Sicilian as well, and I'm like I'm white to American.
I might send it to you guys later. I can't find it right now. Yeah, I'll send it to you guys later. I found the farm. I feel like I've done this recital a lot recently. I found it through this organization called Worldwide Organization of Organic Farms, I think it is. And it's basically like Airbnb, but for farms across the globe. So as a farmer, as a woofer, I can go on this website. I'm taking my glasses off because, I'll leave them on. I was going to say for the screen. I was on a farm outside of Bologna. Oh, no, I was talking about woofing. Okay. Slow it down. They have they're established in like all these different countries, and then I can go explore different farms online and then apply to them to work as a woofer. And I work for free but get free food and free housing. So I found this gorgeous little winery. The reason why I picked this one was because I saw that they had someone who was like our age working at, or he lives there because his family owns it. So I thought that was really cool just to have someone else that was my age there, and they also had a bike, so I could go out and bike around, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was the most incredible experience because I was solo traveling. I was in Sicily with my girlfriend, but she had to come home after that. So rather than just kind of bumming around in Italy, not sure where I would go or what I would do, I was like, this would be the perfect way to spend time and meet other people. And it was like nothing short of that. So there were a lot of wonderful people that I met, other travelers, all young people too. I think there was the only old people there were in their like 30s, and they were a couple from Florida. They were fucking crazy too, by the way. Insane people. But everybody else that was younger was really cool. It was a wonderful experience, and literally felt like I was in Call Me By Your Name. We weren't even that far from where they filmed Call Me By Your Name, so it like had the exact same setting. Let me see if I can I'll send you guys the link to the farm just so you guys can get a visual. But woofing was amazing. I'm fully ready to move to Italy. I'm ready for it. I'm so over LA now.
Do you get to travel outside the US much? And out of all the trips you have taken outside the U.S., I'm sure the Sicily trip ranks up near the top, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, it's got to. I'm trying to go to Italy every year now. I'm working on getting citizenship. I think I was talking about it with you, Caleb, through Descent. But I'm trying to get citizenship so I can live there hopefully one day, or at least work there, which would be rad. But yeah, I'm super grateful and blessed to have like had gone on a lot of trips growing up. My parents, whenever they went on a job to work somewhere, I always went with them. So I've been to a lot of states. I've probably been to like 19, around there. I don't know why I picked 19. I was going to say 15 to 20, but my mouth said 19. So yeah, I think travel is something that I hold very dear to my heart. When I'm trying to look for a relationship, travel is important.
Most definitely.
Yeah, Italy was amazing though. Have you guys been?
I have not, but literally I have the same like mindset of like I want to get my citizenship there too, and like live there for a few years and like work there and everything, because I'm like I just want to be there so badly.
Yeah, I know. I was same shoot with the tennis ball or tennis court shoot. But the photographer was from London, but he had worked in Paris and Milan a lot. And we were talking about how like working in Europe is, and I was telling him that like I don't, if I moved to Milan or something to work, I don't know how I would even begin to start working because I don't speak the language and I don't know anybody there. We were talking more in like a digital tech sense, but he was like, there's studios in Milan, and maybe it's a European thing where there's studios that are kind of all inclusive. So if you were to rent their studio, the studio brings the photo assistants, the digital techs, the stylists, basically the whole crew. So if I were to reach out to these studios, I could work as a digital tech there and basically have a job built in, but still kind of like a freelance type of situation. And that kind of really opened my eyes to like the possibility of moving to Italy and working there. So hopefully in the future we can make it happen.
Speaking of the future, perfect transition to the closing questions here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we just want to know kind of what your plans are for the future. Can you highlight some short-term and long-term goals, dreams that you have going on?
Make money and retire at 30.
Yeah.
Well, that was easy.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, the more after going to Italy, that's also why I want to move there, because like I think that photography will always be a part of my life, but professionally I'm not closing myself off to other things. So if it lines up where like I want to go work on a farm for a year in Italy, I don't want to close myself off to that. If I can do well enough for myself into my late 30s where then I can, start doing other things that just make me happy. That's the goal, not have to be a working slave. I think recently this year that goal has changed a lot as I started teching more. I've just been shooting a lot less this year, something that I've been very lazy about, and I need to get myself on it for shooting more. But it's changed my idea of like what I can do and the different things I can do to sustain myself, to do the things that I really want to do. As long as I can, have enough to pay rent and travel a little bit and have people around me that I love, that's all I really need. So
when it comes to photography and your work, let's say like 10, 15 years down the line, what would you say success looks like?
My Gary V answer would be shooting ads for Fortune 500 companies. Like that's one thing I've realized is like the investment, not only time, but like money, like how much, because everybody, we don't have to include this, but everybody, not everybody, a lot of people in the photo industry, I don't know for other places, but in LA, like everybody comes from money. So it feels like the barrier to entry, especially for photographers, is really high because you need to produce your own shoots. You need to do a lot of funding your own shoots to just build your portfolio and pitch yourself and get meetings with people. So it's a huge investment to make that happen. So it's not as, no, I don't want to say it's not as attainable, because anybody, if you're passionate and driven enough, you can fucking do it. But where am I going with this? Yeah, I don't know. I think my photography goals are to be working in this industry in 10, 15 years, whether that's as a digital tech or a photographer, working on shoots that I feel like I'm being valued in, working with people that I like. I feel being young in this industry, I'm meeting a lot of people and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm getting on set with people I've worked with before, which is like the best feeling ever. So being at the point where I have a network and a community of people in the photo industry here in LA that like I know, and I know what to expect a little bit, would be nice, and not feel so alone in an industry. And it's getting less and less like that, which is really nice. Being on shoots that I feel like matter and are fun and are exciting projects to work on too, because it's more fun to work for a shoot that you're excited about than something you're not.
For sure. Sounds like you're on your way, which is all exciting. It's all good to hear. So.
I hope so.
Just to wrap this interview up, on all social medias, where can we find you? Where can we find all your work at?
You can find me on OnlyFans. Yeah, my Instagram is my name, Milan Dileo. I don't just spell that. My website, same thing, just throw a .com on the end of it. I think that's it. That's all my social medias that I got. I'm on Facebook, but you don't need to follow me on Facebook.
Right. But yeah, no, we'll find the Instagram, the website. We'll tag in everything. We'll be checking it all out and sharing your stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, thank you so
guys.
much for coming on.
I hope that was helpful.
Absolutely, it was good.
Thank you so much for coming on, and that's a wrap.
Yeah,
I learned a lot. I for sure learned a lot. So
cool. Yeah, thanks guys. It was awesome.